Welcome back to Jet Nation, Flight 29. We're back from the bye week, Bilal, and we got lots of breaking news to get into. But first of all, how are you, BP?
What's going on? I'm good, man. Ready to be back. This one.
Yeah, good to be back. You were out and about partying. You delivered the first Jets win of the season on your birthday or the day before your birthday. How was that for you?
It was good. My head coach, coach of high school, he actually said, "Man, I'm surprised the Jets didn't take you back with them. You went and got the first win, being at the game." But it was fun. It was exciting. Bittersweet weekend, celebrating, and also hearing the news about a former teammate of mine. But it was a great time. It was just a special time in the air when they got the dub.
It is crazy, by the way, about Nick, and it's just, maybe we'll talk about it a little bit later, but it is crazy that how that happens that day and then they get the win. It's just, and seeing all the teammates and Rex and, guys that we know, Willie, and guys that we're friends with, right? And we talk to and how much it moved everyone. I never met Nick, but everyone who met him, like, it seems like this really hit them.
Yeah, he did. He was an unbelievable person. So, yeah, we'll definitely get into it later. Something to celebrate with him, man. He had a historical life, man, and things you don't dream about as a kid, and the things he accomplished. Something to celebrate on his life. Absolutely.
Yeah. There's no easy transition, but the Jets made some moves at the trade deadline, which is crazy. And the one that caught everyone off guard, the first one, is the Sauce Gardner trade. And to me, having a shutdown corner when you're a team that's 1-7, and I know he was signed for the next 6 years and he was supposed to be one of the building blocks. The way Muji talked about it after the trade is like, hey, we weren't competing with him. We could lose with or without this guy. And so they decided to move on and send him to Indianapolis. What was your reaction when you saw that news?
It was a little shocking, especially when they just extended him earlier this year in the summertime. It was a little shocking, but I think it made sense for the New York Jets. I think you got some gain out of that, and like Muji said, they're winning without him, they're losing with him. So I guess at that time, it was more about how are you going to dictate the future. You gain some capital in that, and obviously that man is in his prime, so you got really good picks. And I think it's an opportunity for them to see where they're going to go with the future of this organization.
Yeah, it's all about the future now because you traded a guy who is theoretically thought of to be part of the future, right? In Sauce Gardner. You just signed him 3 months ago to a massive extension that he was going to be a part of this team for the next 5.5 years. But what I will say about Darren Muji, and give him kudos for this, he saw value. He got 2 first-round picks and a wide receiver who was a second-round pick last year. So you still have control of him. And, you could see what you have in A.T. Mitchell. He's had highs and lows. Obviously, he dropped the ball going into the end zone this year. We've seen that too many times. I do want to ask you about that at some point. But to me, the way the contract was structured and the way the trade was made, the Jets got rid of that money. They got that money off the books. So all of a sudden, it's like, we're building for the future. We're not going to be competing for the next couple of years. Let's at least see if we can get some value back. And look, draft picks, they're lottery picks, right? It's a lottery card. Who knows? But it's better than what you had. You could lose with or without Sauce Gardner. You know what I mean? He wasn't helping you win. They were losing regardless. So I think it's a good move for the Jets. It does suck that they had to make that move, but I think it's the right move.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think they look at it as like you said, we lost with him. We didn't win with him. Like, it's just a hit or miss. And I think that they know that the biggest problem is that those guys cannot fix the offense. I think they're opening up a capital to where they're trying to really attack offensively. And I think Aaron Glenn is pretty much confident in his development in young guys. Go out and get a young defensive player that can help you win. I think they're confident in that part of it as far as trusting in his system to develop young players coming into the National Football League.
Something we talked about so many times, you and I, is that these players are quote unquote losers. And you always told me, well, they wanted Ohio State, they wanted Cincinnati, they wanted all the different Alabama for Quinnen Williams. And we'll get into Quinnen in a second. But to me, part of a rebuild, and you saw this in Detroit, is identify who are the guys that are winners. And people called on Garrett Wilson, and it was an a no, hard no. And part of what you need to identify is who are in the building are guys that are going to be part of the future, are guys that we're going to win with in the future. That's what Detroit did so well. People talk about Dan Campbell turning it around. It was really Brad Holmes, the GM, who turned it around by getting a ton of draft picks and then using them on guys like Penei Sewell, Aiden Hutchinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, Amon-Ra St. Brown, bringing in winning players through the draft. That's how you do it. And now the Jets, with the draft picks they have, the capital they have over the next 2 years in the first 2 rounds, that to me is how you build a winning team. And it's identifying who are winning players, who are going to be part of a winning culture. And look, I'm not saying that Sauce Gardner was a loser. I'm not saying that Quinnen Williams, I definitely don't think Quinnen was, but I just think that at some point it's like, hey, it's not working with these guys. Let's try and build our own culture. Let's try and bring in our own guys. I mean, you saw the game against Cincinnati. I know their defense got torched by Joe Flacco, but the last couple of drives at the end, Sauce didn't play, and they played well, the secondary at certain points, right, in the second half of that game. So I don't know, like, the guy you met, Brownlee, he played well, right? And he ends up closing out the game. Stevens has been much better the last few weeks. AZ Thomas got the start. He looked good. So it's like, all right, let's try and build with what we have. The other aspect to this is, to me, this is a commitment to Aaron Glenn. You're now committing to Aaron Glenn for the next, not only next year, but the next 2 years. Because if you're willing to strip down his roster, you know that he's not going to win a lot of games. So you're saying, we don't expect you to win many games. Just keep building. And next year in 2026, we have a bunch of picks. Use those. And then not only next year is he going to be here, he's going to be here in 27. And because they have a bunch of picks in the first 2 rounds in 27, there's no way they would get rid of all the talent on the team and build in the next 2 drafts if they didn't think this head coach was going to be here at least the next 2 years.
Yeah, and listen, there's 2 type of coaches. I think there's a head coach that has to have players who already developed. And then there's coaches who believe, like I think Aaron Glenn believes in really developing young players and coming in and saying, hey, you're my guy. This is what we're doing, and creating his culture. I think that he has a standard that isn't moving. And like you said, those 2 guys, they're going to go on and have good careers somewhere else. Like
Sauce is going to be awesome in Indianapolis.
Yeah, and I think Quinnen is going to do. I think Quinnen is going to do a great job in Dallas. He's going to do a great job in Dallas. But like you said, I just didn't think they saw a fit for them anymore, just in that organization. And sometimes you have to wipe your hands and say, "Here's the end of the road." I think they respect the players, both of the players as leaders, but it just wasn't the right fit. And having a good organization, I think you have to have the right players. And the right players for them, as they see fit, longevity is bringing in the guys to develop as their own. And you talked about that earlier before they signed Sauce Gardner. You said, well, this regimen, they really didn't bring him in. Will they pay him? Well, now we see. Now they say, well, now we have to go out and take the risk of developing our Sauce Gardner and creating our culture for what we want in his organization.
And that's where I give them credit, because the conversation we had before was so much of, well, Sauce isn't their guy. Are they going to pay him? They figured out a way that we could pay him. And this is savvy by Muji. This is a great job by Darren Muji, whereas we figured out a way where we can pay this guy and yet still have the flexibility to decide to move off of him. That was one of the questions they asked him in the press conference. They said, hey, Darren, you kept saying that this is a commitment to this guy. You committed so much money to this guy. What changed in 3 months? And he's like, it's not really anything that changed. We always keep our minds open. We always keep our options open. And that's how the contract was structured. So a great job by him. And another great job by him identifying that the Cowboys are desperate. And Jerry Jones said it himself. Jerry Jones said, I don't have many days left. I don't have many years left. I need to win now, because he's old. He said that in the press conference after they traded for Quinnen Williams. So
you get rid of Micah Parsons and then bring in Quinnen Williams?
Well, they got rid of Micah Parsons because they said
you have the Jets problems and then the Cowboys problems.
Right? Oh, the Cowboys problems are awful. This is a 3-5-1 team, and you just got a first and a second and a player back for Quinnen Williams, who's not Sauce Gardner, who's not under control for the next 6 years. I love Quinnen. I think he had the right attitude. The rumors were he wanted out the entire season. He wanted out of New York. And look, he went about it the right way. And that's why you reward a guy.
Where's the rumor coming from?
This was reported by Diana Rossini. This was reported by multiple people. This was
unknown sources, I'm assuming.
I don't
New York, those guys are good at that. The unknown
No,
sources.
but Bilal, this is where I disagree. I think they did it. He did it the right way, where it never was public. It only came out after he was traded. Like, I think he kept it under wraps the entire time. He went about it the right way. He went to management. He said, look, I'm going to keep playing. I'm not going to go on social media. But if you guys decide to move me, that would be nice for me. And I think they did right by a guy who they viewed as a captain, who we've had on the show, a guy who we really like. And I think he handled it like a pro. And that's why they did right by him. And they traded him to an organization that, hey, hopefully they can turn it around, because I'd love to see Quinnen win.
Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully the picks that he gave us, the Cowboys gave us, could help us win. Right.
Well, by the way, those picks, based on how this team looks, those picks are going to be high in the draft. Like, those aren't going to be late first rounders. They're 3, 5, and 1. Yeah. I mean, I know the first round pick is next year, and it's going to be the higher pick. Whatever the better pick of is between the Green Bay pick that they got, obviously, for the Micah Parsons trade, and the pick for the pick that they have, their own pick, Dallas's pick. So we'll see which one the Jets end up getting. Speaking of doing it the right way, though, a guy who's doing it the wrong way is Breece Hall. And I cannot stand this. He had a day on social media yesterday, including DMing Kurt Benkert, who was like the 5th string quarterback in Green Bay, DMing him saying he wants out of the Jets. Like, he DM'd this guy, and the guy made the DM public on social media that he wants out of the Jets. And then he's tweeting all these things about, oh, I'm happy for my brothers, but I'm crushed. You know, he liked a tweet where somebody wrote, wow, the Chiefs gave up a 3rd-round pick for Kadarius Toney, but they wouldn't trade for Breece Hall. Like, he is angry that he's still here. And if I'm the Jets, you already ranted about Breece Hall. And maybe we'll post the clip today because it's still relevant. On last episode, go back and watch. Bilal had he ripped into Breece. But to me, if I'm the Jets, I'm like, dude, see ya. I'm sitting your ass for at least the first. I'm not trading you just because you're being a bitch online. Like, I'm not giving in to you just because you're being a what?
I said, ooh.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. But you know what I will do? You want to bitch and complain on social media about the team? Then I'll bench you for the first half. You could sit the first quarter. We'll start Isaiah Davis. We could lose with or without you. But we're not going to give you up because you're just being such a jerk about it. And by the way, the Jets are going to tag him this offseason, and he's going to be angry about that. And he's going to cry and complain about that. This guy is just the worst, has the worst attitude of, my God, like, it's crazy.
It's a small league. I will say that. This is a very small league. And your personality, everything that goes into your actions and your character, it travels with you. And it's a very small league. So my thing for him is just to continue focus, man. You know, I did notice a little bit about his actions during that game in Cincinnati, where he was like isolated by himself, and it was just screaming. He didn't want to be a part of it. I don't know, but it was very obvious for me because I'm very observant, and I was just watching him, and I was watching his actions, and you know, if you want out, man, just go up there. And here's what they're going to do. Now that you want out, that you're doing it the wrong way. You're going about it the wrong way. If you want out, now they're going to make sure that they do everything in their power to not just let you go. So, you know, if you wanted to go about it the right way, the professional way, then they would have traded you already. But now that you're doing the things that you're doing, they're going to make this hard for you. And you have to understand that your name is going to travel, you know, and they're going to create this character, this person that is going to travel with you to another locker room. And it's not until you get to another locker room that people are going to be like, well, shoot, man, I thought he was this and I thought he was that, because I've seen that throughout my career. I've seen guys come to our organization that had this quote unquote name or image painted on them from previous organizations. It's going to happen. And my biggest thing is he's going to be mature enough to respond. And what he has to understand too is when you come with that type of character, when you come with that type of image going to another locker room, then your pay rate goes from here to down here, and it's almost like a prove it year. And he has to understand that, especially with the running back position being undervalued. Man, you got to sometimes fake it until you make it. Fake it until you freaking make it, man. And you exposing and kind of allowing them to know what you're thinking based on your actions and your tweets and statements, it's going to make it very hard for you to go on and be successful somewhere else or make the money that you want to make as a player for your future.
And part of that is maybe the reason the Chiefs didn't give up a 3rd-round pick for you is because they see your attitude.
Exactly.
So, like, you're complaining that the Chiefs didn't trade for you. That's why it's a great point, Bilal. Like, that's a huge part of it, that the Chiefs are watching too. They have social media too. They're seeing, and then he deletes a tweet, and then he leaves other ones up, and he deletes different ones.
No
and
one
it's a whole
wants that
game
in the locker room.
It's a whole game. And you think the teammates are looking at him like, dude, shut up. Like, his teammates are probably, you know who put out a tweet that I thought, again, I would wish he didn't tweet, but Jermaine Johnson wrote, hey, sad to see my brothers go, but I want to be part of the change. I want to be part of the future. I want to be what turns this franchise around. I believe in this coaching staff. I believe in the locker room. Like, that's what you want to hear. You want to hear. That's why I didn't want them. There were 2 guys to me that were untouchable. Jermaine Johnson, who was offered a 2nd-round pick for Jermaine Johnson and Garrett Wilson. Those are the high character guys that you need around, that you need to build around.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, man, guys denying the trade, it's probably saying a lot about what's going around now. And, you know, I'll keep saying it, man, it's a small league. And, you know, it's to a point to where, like, you can't pick where you want to go. Like, you're going to be picked based on relationships in the front office, based on who knows who in the front office, and your character. Your character is going to take you a long way in this football league. Like, you know, it's definitely going to take you. But Jermaine Johnson, I would have hated to see him go, man, coming back off, because, you know, you can still see it, and I think they still see him being a part of the rebuild. And it's just good that he's now speaking about being part of that rebuild.
Yeah, so Jermaine Johnson has made the biggest difference to me for this team. I'm just looking up right now. This is why I'm looking at this. If there's a non-exclusive franchise tag for running backs, because then what happens is the team offers a 1-year contract and average out. Okay, fine, obviously. And then the player can negotiate with other teams, and it's a 2 first-round. It's still 2 first-round picks. I know for quarterbacks, but I remember with Lamar. So I'd be interested to see that. You know what? If the Jets want to do that, give him the non-exclusive tag. Other teams can negotiate with you, Brees. Let's go see what your value is, and then if they want to give the Jets 2 first-round picks for your rights, great. You know what I mean? That's what I would do if I were the Jets. Like, hey, here's the non-exclusive franchise tag. Go negotiate with other teams. Let them write the offer sheet for us. Let's see what your value actually is with the way you've handled things. So I just looked that up right now, because as you're talking, it's like, yeah, you want to find out what other teams think of you? You could find out pretty quick. Now, to me, I've been pretty positive about the trade deadline. I think it's the right moves. When you're not winning, when you have a losing culture, you have to try and improve through the draft. You have to try and build through the draft. Don't get me wrong, though. I hate trading the 2 guys who are my 2 favorite players on the defensive side, who are the 2 most valuable guys on the team. You saw the video of the kid crying when they told him that Sauce Gardner's traded. And again, this comes a week after they raise season ticket prices for next year again. Like, Jets fans are so beaten down, are so just punched in the face by this team over and over again. And so I'm happy with how they went about the trade deadline. I'm happy that they were able to get good value back, because I don't think this team is winning and capable of winning. But my problem is, where I'm sad, is everything that led up to them having to do this is awful. The fact that let's go back to the day we started this podcast. They have such a talented young team and Aaron Rodgers at the quarterback. And to go from that to, well, first of all, you could even rewind before that. They were winning games. Like, I think the height of Sauce Gardner is that game that they beat Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, right? They go to 6-3 on that season to start the year. They're 7-4 on that season, right? And then Mike White can't figure it out. Zach Wilson can't figure it out. So they have to go get Aaron Rodgers. Then Aaron Rodgers gets hurt. And then they mismanage everything. And everything that happened with Saleh, firing him after 5 games. Like, my problem is not the trades. I understand why you make the trades. But where I'm pissed off is everything you did to get to this point that led you to need to make these trades, to need to get rid of talented, good, young talent, because you're in such a bad place as an organization because of everything you've done the last few years, that you had to make these trades. And that's the frustrating part. So, like, I understand people who are pissed off about the trades, but don't be pissed off about the trades themselves. It's everything that led up to these trades having to happen that you should be pissed off about.
And that's what makes you a Jet fan, right? That's the entire thing about being a freaking Jet fan.
Oh, tell
When
me
you see
about
the
it.
kid crying, just being born into it. I actually shared that clip to a couple of my
Yeah, you
assistant
sent it to
coaches.
me.
I sent it to you. I sent it to some coaches, and obviously they shot back with all the Jet memes and everything about being just born into this thing. And I wasn't born into it. I guess I just fell right into it, and I had the opportunity when I retired to
You
say,
were
you know what,
selected. You're
I was
special. You got
selected.
drafted into it.
I got drafted, and then I had the opportunity to say, you know what, when I retire, I think I'm going to cheer on another team. But you know what I did? I said, no, I want to be stuck in the misery right
Jet
now,
for
the
life,
Jets
baby.
misery. And that's what it is, man. And hopefully you seeing the moves, very bold moves. I think this is an opportunity to say to all the players, to no one's safe.
Yeah.
No one is safe, and it's a culture and a standard. I think that's not going to move. If you don't fit the culture, if you don't fit the standard, then you're getting moved. And I think that says a lot about where they're trying to go. Two guys, one guy being the first time a GM in Muji, and then the first time head coach. You have to be bold, and you have to say this is the standard when you step into this building, and when you decide to be a New York Jet.
Muji seems savvy. Like I had my questions about this guy. He didn't interview anywhere else for a GM job. Anywhere else, not even interview. And I'm like, you're really going to hire a guy who didn't even interview anywhere else? I think they got the right guy with the GM. Like even the small moves, the Brownlee move, like a move like that, like things that we talked about. He goes and gets, we didn't talk about the Michael Carter trade because it's on a lesser level, I guess, but he gets him. The trades he made, getting an AD, they get two receivers, Menchie and Mitchell, at this deadline, like two wide receivers to help out. Let's figure out who the quarterback is. Now, speaking of the quarterback, Aaron Glenn still won't tell them who the quarterback is. Maybe they should start Breece Hall at quarterback, because I don't know if you saw this. The last time, because this was a great play on Sunday, but you know when the last time a Jets running back completed a pass was prior to Sunday? I got the clip. You want me to play it?
Yeah, play the clip. Let's see.
And Bilal Powell takes the direct snap. Coming left, he's going to throw it. And lobbing it down the field and caught by Cumberland. And that is what the offense looks like for a team that's playing loosey-goosey with nothing to lose. Bilal Powell is a left-hander, and he, rolling to his left, drops in a really feathery, soft ball down here.
Look at how happy Rex is. The lefty toss by BP in 2013. That's the last time the Jets had a running back complete a pass, and then Breece Hall does it for the win.
Yeah, but he got me though. He's 1 for 1 for a touchdown, so you have to respect
touchdown.
that.
That's the difference. Cumberland.
And he read it though. My guy was open. His guy was like covered, so for him to throw that was real risky. So I got to take my hat off to him, man. And when he did his, man.
Maybe he should start at quarterback, because I don't understand why there's like this feeling that, the quarterback, and Justin Fields played incredible, I think. And it's against a terrible defense. If you watch some of the film, and you were there, so I want you to tell me what you saw in a second. Obviously, you told us already what you saw on the sideline with Breece, but like, what did you see on the field? Because I saw Justin had a lot of time. He still was waiting. Like, he still was hesitant on throws, but he was taking risks. He was actually letting go of the ball. And it's, he just had his receiver sitting down in that terrible zone defense that Cincinnati was playing. And Cincinnati's a terrible defense. You just saw what happened to them against Chicago on Sunday. What do you see from Fields? And do you think he's going to start again? Glenn won't announce the starting quarterback again. Who do you think is going to start on Sunday?
I mean, I think he will be your starting quarterback. It was one of those things where I said he has to prove that he can be a starter for this team. And I think that performance showed that he can be a starter. But I have to take my hat off to the offensive line. Like you said, he had plenty of time to throw the ball, and there were a bunch of holes in that zone defense. But also, too, we talked about design quarterback runs, and I think 4 of the runs that he had kept them in front of the change, kept them in manageable downs, and they actually converted to first downs and moved the chains, extended drives. and he moved the pocket, the play action, moving in the pocket, getting him outside of the pocket for run pass. You saw that in the red zone. They were just hitting it at all calibers, man. And, just to see an explosive Isaiah Davis, because the run game was kind of slow there early on in the game. And then Isaiah Davis broke out for that 50-yard run. And then that was good. And they didn't abandon the run. Even being down 2 scores, they did not abandon the run. And it came out. And, that's what won them the game, being able to run that football, being able to move it. They got down in the red zone 5 times. I think 2 times they came up short. I was kind of iffy about a couple of the play calls down in the red zone because he had nowhere to go with the football. But Justin Fields did what he's supposed to do when you have time as a national quarterback, a national football quarterback, is make your throws. And guys were open. Guys caught the ball. Guys were explosive after the catch. That is what an explosive offense should look like.
And they're going to have to run the ball effectively again. And I agree with you. I hate when teams get down, but there's still time in the game, and they completely abandon the run. If it's what's best for you, you got to keep running it. They're talking about in the Cowboy game, Joe and Troy were talking about it, that they abandoned the run in the second half of that game, and they were only down 2 scores. And it's like, come on, you got plenty of time. Just keep running the ball. It's working with Javonte Williams. Like, keep doing it. So I'm glad to see, I love that Muji stuck with his, not Muji, Engstrand, the offensive coordinator, stuck with his play calling, stuck with his scheme, and they did a good job. Now, he's not going to have that time this Sunday, though, against Myles Garrett. And, they're going to have to run the ball a ton, including Justin himself is going to have to run the ball to alleviate some of the pressure from Myles Garrett. He might have 8 sacks this week. So I'm a little bit concerned. Is there a competitive advantage to Glenn not naming a quarterback yet?
I don't think so. I think he's just trying to keep it in-house. I'm sure there's been talks in the building, within the building, and probably has been talked to keep it on the down low. That way you don't have any kind of, influence on the media, because you know how New York media can be with guys. And I think everyone in that building knows who's the starting quarterback on Sunday. For us, I'm going to assume that it is Justin Fields. He did do a good job of playing, and he kind of answered to, Mr. Johnson.
Yeah,
he answered
would say
he answered with it. He answered the challenge. That's what you want to see. If it takes for him to do that, I think Woody should come out more and speak more about it, if that's going to make him play the way he played against Cincinnati.
Here's what I think, though. I don't think that was Woody's intention. I think Woody was just trashing him. I think Woody was trying to get Aaron Glenn to not start him. And I think he came out and he stuck it to him, which is so funny. They won a game. Can you imagine winning a game and sticking it to your owner by winning a game?
Winning a game.
That's what I think happened. Now, the Jets were favored at home against Cleveland. It was the first time they were favored this year. They were favored by 2.5. And now they're not favored. Now they're underdogs after the trade deadline. They're 2.5-point dogs at home to Dillon Gabriel and the Cleveland Browns. And it's more Myles Garrett. I think he's going to be a game wrecker.
Yeah. But again, as a game planner, I know either I'm going to have some chip help from some guys out of the backfield, or a tight end, or else get the ball out quick, because you're not going to be sitting back there with time to throw like you did against Cincinnati. You're not going to be able to do that. So, you need to go into this game plan knowing that you have a dominant elite pass rusher who's going to get to the quarterback if you do not get the ball out of your hands.
Do you think the Jets will win this week?
That's a tough defense over there.
I don't think the Jets are going to win.
It'll be close, but I don't think the Jets pull it off.
I think it's a low-scoring game. I think the Jets defense will look solid against Dillon Gabriel. I think Jermaine Johnson coming back had the biggest impact on this defense. I think he's been a huge impact on this defense, him being back there. And I think some of the corners, A.Z. Thomas, like we talked about, Brandon Stevens, that the Jets have been one of the least penalized teams in the league over the last 3 weeks. Aaron Glenn's actually turning some stuff around.
Well, I mean, because he's that standard. The standard doesn't move. You have to meet the standard. That's the thing about it. It's not one guy. It has anything to do with, or it's just a standard that you have to set when you walk into the door. And that was one of the biggest things he talked about early on. He cannot move that standard as a coach. They have to meet that as an organization, as a team.
Yeah, and that's something that I think here. In week 6 to 9, we're number 1 in the NFL for fewest penalties and penalty yards against. I like that. Now, Does that include the bye week? Are they including the bye week in that?
I hope not.
I think so, because they didn't play week 9.
They
So it's really
didn't.
just 6, 7, and 8. 3 games, though, they've only had 11 penalties in those 3 games.
And
So I
which
give
is
them
not
that.
bad. Oh yeah, which is not bad.
That's really not bad. 11 penalties, 60 penalty yards in 66 penalty yards in 3 games is really not bad. So I'll take it. I think it's kind of funny that they included the bye week in there. It kind of helps the stats a little bit, but whatever. And, you know, other teams had buys during that time too. So I don't know.
I'll take it.
Speaking
Hey,
of
whatever it is, take it. All right.
Yeah. Speaking of other teams, I got my Super 6. My 6 teams, and you'll react to this. My 6 Super Bowl contenders. Number 6, I have the Bills. You have to respect them. They just beat, obviously. They just beat the Chiefs. We know what happens. The Bills always beat the Chiefs in the regular season, and then they always lose to them in the postseason, right? That's how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how Vegas works. No,
what was that?
So that's how Vegas works. But I was joking.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Number 5, I have the Bucks. I have mostly NFC teams here. Actually, I have 3 and 3. I don't know why I said mostly, but I have the Bucks. I think there's something wrong in Philly, so I don't think Philly's on this list. I think the NFC is wide open. I think the Bucks have been really good. There's something magical. They have Bucky Irving coming back. They have Chris Godwin coming back off the bye. I think that team has a chance to get healthy, and Baker's been awesome this year, so I have the Bucks at number 5.
Hold on.
Number 4, I have the Lions.
Were the Eagles on your first list?
I think they were. Let me go back. Yeah, I think they were. They were.
I remember you mentioned it because I didn't mention them. I was like, I just don't see the chemistry of.
Yeah. I have to find my notes from then. I'm looking. I'm scrolling. I don't see it. They might have been. I don't remember.
I know you mentioned them. You said no Eagles.
Maybe they were an honorable mention because
that's probably what it was.
Look, they're still the reigning Super Bowl champions. They made a bunch of moves at the deadline. I think they're going to be really good. Just right now, there's something off with that team and something off with Jalen Hurts. I don't know. It's hard to go back to back. I like the Lions against them in a playoff game. I like the Bucks against them in a playoff game. And another team I'll mention in a minute that I like against them in a playoff game. But I have the Lions at 4. And the reason I have the Lions at 4 is they're so talented on both sides. I know it was a bad loss to Minnesota at home. They're going to come out with a vengeance this week. They're going to kick some ass this week. The team that I took out is the Packers. Like, how inconsistent. You can't lose those games. They lose to Cleveland. They lose to the Panthers. Like, I'm sorry. Who is this Packer team? They're so inconsistent. I don't trust this Packer team. I mean, they're inconsistent quarter to quarter this year. Like, one quarter they look great. One quarter they look terrible. Number 3, you're going to love this one. This team is currently 3 and 5 on the season. The Baltimore Ravens. I think the Baltimore Ravens might run the table. They might lose one game the rest of the year. And if they win that division, they're the favorites to win that division at 3 and 5 still. Even though Aaron Rodgers is 5 and 3, 6 and 2, something like that. I think they're 5 and 3. The Steelers are. Still, I like the Ravens at 3 and 5 to come back. They still have to play the Steelers twice. I think they'll win the division. Lamar looks incredible. Derrick Henry is still Derrick Henry. I love watching Zay Flowers play. I think he's awesome. Mark Andrews caught a couple of touchdowns on Thursday night. I think that team, they might lose only one game the rest of the way. And I think they have the best shot of anyone to knock off the Bills, to knock off the Chiefs, to knock off any other AFC team. I like the Ravens. That's why I have them at number 3. Another thing that was interesting. So Ardarius Washington, who I know, I don't know if you know Ardarius, but he plays for the Ravens. He was the safety last year. They moved him to the starting safety so that they could play Kyle Hamilton in more of like a hybrid safety linebacker role. And it really worked for their defense last year. He tears his Achilles before the season started in the summer, right after he actually signed. He tears his Achilles before training camp even started. So he might even make it back for the end of the season because of when he tore it, like May, I think. So he tears his Achilles in May, and it really impacted their defense. Like, because Kyle Hamilton had to play the regular safety role. And then what they did was they traded Dafe Owe to, I think it was to the Chargers, a guy who they really like, a young edge rusher. I think he's 26 years old, young edge rusher. And they trade him away for a safety that they put back there. And it enabled them to move Kyle Hamilton to play more of like that hybrid safety linebacker role for them. and it's changed their defense, which was terrible early in the season. It looks a lot better now. So I like the Ravens. Number 2, I have the Rams. I mean, that young defensive line, young offensive line. Dude, the Rams, I think, are the best team in the NFC. How could you argue that?
You like them over the Lions?
Dude, they are the best team in the NFC again. Look at that young defense. It's so talented. Look at the offensive line. It's so good. And then look at the skill position players. You can't stop Puka. Devontae Adams still looks incredible. Kyron Williams is a great running back. And you have, I think he's the best quarterback in the NFC still, Matt Stafford. Who's better than him?
I won't argue with you on that.
Yeah.
I like Stafford. I like.
Dude, he's the best quarterback in the NFC right now. Maybe Dak. Like, Dak's playing really well, but I think Stafford's the best quarterback in the NFC.
I think he is.
Yeah.
I won't argue.
So I have them at number 2. I think, we obviously know McVay's an incredible coach. And then number 1, I have the Chiefs. I know they just lost to Buffalo. They always lose to Buffalo in the regular season. You know that Josh Allen is 5-1 in the regular season against Patrick Mahomes. Guess what? He's never beaten him in the playoffs. He loses to him every year in the playoffs, and he's 5-1 in the regular season. So that doesn't move me at all.
What about the Colts getting Sauce?
I made this list before the Colts.
That's tough, man.
Did you see Daniel Jones on Sunday against the Steelers? This is the first time, and this is why I left the Colts off. Because I know I thought about this. You're going all in on a season with Daniel Jones. He's still Daniel Jones. Like, this is the first time. Look at their schedule. Go look at the teams they beat. Go look at their wins. If you look at the Colts' wins, they didn't beat anyone good. Literally nobody good. And then they finally play in Pittsburgh, a tough game against the Steelers, and they lose, and Daniel Jones looks like he turned back into a pumpkin. Like, doesn't that say something to you?
Yeah. I mean,
here are their wins. I pulled it up. They beat Miami. Miami's a mess, right? They win at home against Denver. They win on a last-second field goal at home against Denver, okay? Then they crush the Titans on the road. The Titans stink. They lose to the Rams, a good team. They win at home against Vegas. Vegas stinks. They win at home barely against Arizona. Arizona stinks. And then they crush Tennessee again. Like, the only good team they played against to that point. They beat the Chargers that was when their whole offensive line was hurt. And it's also in a dome.
Dallas beat the Jets with. I'm joking. All right, we'll get.
Yeah, that's the Jets. This is the first time they had to play a really tough team on the road in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't see it. You know which team I respect? I don't think they'll have enough firepower to get it done in the postseason. Just they've had too many injuries and they didn't really trade for much help. Is San Francisco. Like, losing Fred Warner and Bosa in the same week, and it's just. And they're still winning games. Like, I respect the hell out of them. And what Kyle Shanahan's been able to do with a backup quarterback, with no wide receivers, like their top 2 receivers are down all year. It's crazy that they're winning these games, but I can't see them.
I don't see it. So no New England with Drake May playing and Vrabel.
I don't have New England because their schedule is so easy that they're going to win a bunch of regular season games. Then they're going to get to the playoffs. I think they could win the AFC East, but I think once they get to the playoffs,
over the Bills. So you saying if they win so you're saying that they're going to win it over the Bills, but then they're not going to be able to beat a playoff contending team?
I think they'll lose in the playoffs at home to one of the Bills, Ravens. Yeah.
All right. I got you. I like it.
Because I think
it's changed though since 2 weeks now we've done this.
Yeah, no, it's changed. Right now I have the Chiefs number 1, the Rams number 2, the Ravens number 3, the Lions number 4, the Bucks number 5, and the Bills number 6. That's my Super 6. I'm going to go look back. Let's see if I wrote it down anywhere. No, I don't know where I wrote it down because I can't find it anywhere. So I want to know how it changes. Someone will have to watch back last episode from 2 weeks ago and tell me where I changed it.
So if the season ended now, playoffs were now, who are your 2 Super Bowl teams?
Chiefs, Rams.
Chiefs, Rams?
That's my top 2 teams. Wow. Yeah.
Okay.
Wouldn't that be a fun Super Bowl?
I don't think
Stafford, the old dog, one more time against
I don't think so.
You don't think so? By the way,
mine. So my 6 were with. I had the Colts and the Lions, but
right.
with your list, if I had your list without the Colts, I would think that a fun game to watch would be Lions Ravens.
That would be fun too. Lions Ravens would be fun, and they played
I think
already
that'd be a
earlier.
fun game. Yeah, I think that'd be a fun game with Lamar being healthy, and like I said, I think they're going to gain momentum. And it's November. You know what I always say about November? You want to win to get in, got to win in November.
Yeah, I think they could go undefeated in November. You look at their schedule.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I want to pull that up because, like, if you look at their schedule the rest of the way, I went through this already. I think they have maybe one loss on the remaining schedule. So their November schedule is at Minnesota, who's coming off a big win, at Cleveland, home against the Jets, and home against the Bengals. You're telling me they're not going 4-0 in November? They're going 4-0 in November, and then at that point they'll be 7-5, and everyone's gonna be like, "Yep, the Ravens are back."
Yeah.
Their toughest games are the last 2 games of the season at Green Bay and at Pittsburgh. But at that point, if you're riding a momentum going into those games, doesn't that change? Like, if you have momentum going into those games, and you're feeling good about yourself, then it changes the way you play in those games, right?
I think so. I never had the opportunity to play in the playoffs, but I do think when you start to gain that momentum late in the year,
look at when you guys beat New England at home, that game right before
Buffalo.
Obviously you go up to Buffalo, the overtime game with Eric Decker, that was a momentum win.
Yeah, that was a win to say, wow, they found it. They have that momentum, and that's why I knew if we got into the playoffs, we probably had a chance.
But you didn't even get a chance to play the next week.
I know, man. I wanted to play.
Trust me, we've talked about it many times. Speaking of your playing days, I want to close on this. I want to, if you could just give me a couple words about your guy Nick Mangold, and then we'll wrap up. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer in knowing that there are multiple versions of you to other people. And, I met 2 versions of him. I met Nick Mangold when I first got into the league. The kid who had a dream of playing college ball, went on to Ohio State, tremendous center, gets drafted. One of 2 guys that get drafted in the first round in the same year, same position on the offensive line. I wouldn't say same position. Go on to have a heck of a career. That's Nick Mangold. And then there was a Nick, just Nick, and that was the guy post career where you have this brotherhood and a line of respect for each other. I used to see him at Super Bowl events and Jets events, and he can be in a full conversation with someone else and just completely stop everything he's doing just to recognize me and know that, and hey man, what's up? And it's just hugs. And next thing you know, he's like almost forgets he was just in the conversation because we just had that conversation. And, I can't sit up here and tell you, oh, we talked every day or I text him every day or we saw each other every day. It was one of those line of respects as a brother. When I see you, it's like picking up right where we left off, and that's the thing about this game. He was a tremendous teammate, heck of a guy, community leader, servant, and may God rest his soul. Praying for his family, his friends, real close friends and family. And his legacy will live on, and hopefully here soon, he will be able to we'll be able to see a statue of him in Canton, Ohio. So I think he deserves it, and not because of this incident and tragedy, but because he deserves it as a player. And and that's it. And that's Nick Mangold. May you rest in peace.
Yeah, and I love that. And as Jets fans, we all know that when you're going through the tough times, and we've been through the tough times, and we've seen good times with Nick because he was there for the 2 AFC championship games. He was there with you in 2015 when you had that magical season. But it's the players who stand out, who carry themselves a certain way and are still professionals and still leaders when the times are tough, that means so much more to us. And he was that guy who was the one constant throughout it. You mentioned the two guys who got picked in the same draft, him and Brick, right? They stood next to each other, or I guess there was someone in between because Brick was a tackle, but they were next to each other on the offensive line for all those years, and they saw the ups and they saw the downs, but they stayed steady. And it's just two guys that were, special to this fan base. And Nick meant so much. And you could see the outpouring of love from his teammates, from his coaches, from Rex, from everyone, how much he meant to this organization. I agree with you. He is a Hall of Famer. There's only a few centers in the Hall of Fame. There's no reason why he shouldn't be one of those Hall of Famers, because he's a Hall of Fame player. And from everyone's, I never met him, but from everyone's account to him, he was a Hall of Fame person too. So yeah, prayers for the family, obviously. And we're going to miss him. What was special on Sunday, and I don't know if you noticed this, but what was really incredible on Sunday was the two young guys that we have now, Mbembu and Fashanu, right? A first and second year tackle on either side. And they both pitched a shutout on Sunday. They had zero pressures on either of them, in 38 snaps or something combined between the two of them. And so like those little things that you realize, it's like, hey, something a little special on Sunday. It's hopefully those guys are, continue that legacy now, or those two guys for the next few years.
Yeah, and Nick was he was an Ohio native, and for the Jets to get the first win in Ohio,
yep,
it was something special. Obviously I'll share a moment on the sideline with a couple people in the organization, and people probably were looking at us crazy because no one knew the news, and we kind of got emotional, and tears were falling, so people probably were kind of confused with what was going on. But it was a special moment for guys to really share that like emotional time of vulnerability to each other just because of a guy. And it lets you know, one, how much the organization valued Nick as a human, not just a player, but, just to still keep him involved in the organization, and two, how people feel about him in the organization. So, emotional time, it was shared with people that loved each other, and we'll all miss him. Honestly,
yep.
we're gonna miss him.
And what's crazy about that is also, like, you texted me in the morning. I was shocked. I was like, man, it was just 11 days ago that he put out the public plea, and we were like, okay, he's putting this out to the public. Like, I thought there was time. You know what I mean? It makes you value just every day, because you think there's time, and then you get slapped in the face with something like that, where it's like, it also goes to tell you what kind of person he was. He didn't want to ask for help from the public. Like, he's like, I got this. And then, he waited until he thought he couldn't anymore, apparently, to ask for help from the public. So it was just like, when you got that text, I was like shook. And you talk about like on the sideline, I was going to ask you if you met Boomer, but then after that, I was like, oh, you know what? Maybe not the best time to ask that.
Well, we actually got invited to the same tailgate, I believe, but I had ended up getting that text message about Nick, so kind of stepped away from the tailgate, and but I didn't get a chance to see him.
Another former Jet.
I know. Yeah. So, I was trying to see him, and I think he was on the opposite sideline. So that's probably
that makes sense. He was on the Bengals side for that game.
On the Bengals side. So, but it was a special game. The way it ended too, it was special and exciting. So, well deserved for that team win, and hopefully they can keep it going.
I think what's fun about the rest of the Jet season, we're going to talk about a lot of things on the podcast. I think one of the things we're going to do is we're going to look at draft, because this is going to be a huge draft. The way you turn it around, I'm going to lean on you, because I'm not a huge college football guy. I want you to watch some of these quarterbacks. Tell me, is Fernando Mendoza that guy? Like, I want you maybe we'll do one quarterback a week the rest of the season. We'll break down one quarterback or one, a player that you choose that you want to focus on. And we'll look at him, take a look at what he's doing, because we need to focus on that. But for the season, because there still is 10 games, and or 8 games now, 9 games. Sorry. That's the sad part of it, is that there's 9 games left, and it feels to a lot of people like the season is over. This is actually fun. This is what you want to watch for. You want to watch guys like AD Mitchell and see if he can be a young spark for this team. You want to watch guys like Brownlee. That was such an awesome spark in the secondary, or AZ Thomas or Malachi Moore in the secondary. You want to see what some of these young guys can bring to the table. You want to see Isaiah Davis, and you want to see who still has that winner attitude, who has that, hey, you know what? I'm still going to go out there and compete every week. You want to see what Aaron Glenn can get this team motivated every week, even though it seems like they just fell apart. Like, there's a fun aspect. You're not trying to win football games anymore, but I'm rooting for wins. I don't root for losses because look at the Giants. They drafted the guy, Jackson Dart. He looks like he's going to be their franchise quarterback. I just saw another commercial with him on Joe Malone. Like when you're a good looking young franchise quarterback in New York, like it's good. Life's pretty good for you. Like, yep. And they got him the 26th pick in the draft. You don't need to get the top 1 or 2 or 3 pick. Like you just need to get the right guy. And so I want to see the rest of the season. I want to see a compete level from this Jets team that is, that they've shown at times this year, but I want to see it from the young guys now. I want to see it from Mechie from Philadelphia. I want to see it from these guys. And hopefully that's what we see the rest of the way. BP, I'll talk to you soon. All right.
Yep. I'll catch up with you, man.
All right. See you.